Sometimes I find that I start explaining before I start recording. So, okay. Going to be going over a lot of information today. And I know having the option that class is recorded and you can go back to is very helpful for you guys. But I would highly suggest that as we are going through some of the concepts, when we're talking specifically about formatting, MLA, APA, which we're going to cover a lot today, I would encourage you guys to take notes. Couple of reasons. If you're like me and you have a bad memory, then you have it all written out. And it's been proven that if you write something out, you have a greater chance of remembering it in the future. So can you go back to the video? Yeah, you can. But if you write down what you caught and what you needed, it's going to actually be more beneficial for your brain. Okay, so as I said, we're going to cover a lot of information today. I'm going to try to get it all in, and I'm going to try to give you guys even some time at the end of class to work and to get some things done. Okay, so with that, if anybody needs to go grab a notebook or scratch paper, go ahead and grab that while I get us set up and take us into Blackboard. Okay, so give me a moment to get us over there. I'm going to get rid of my face so you guys aren't trying to stream too many things at once. All right, so I have us here in Blackboard. On your screen, you should actually see just the announcements page. So please help me out if at any point in time, like I'm telling you about something and it's not what's on the screen, let me know. It happens every once in a while. So I want to make sure that everybody knows what's going on. All right. So the past couple of weeks, you guys have had to do some assignments that have kind of introduced you to MLA APA formatting. Now, out of curiosity, because I can't remember if I encouraged you guys to do this over the weekend or not, I think I did. Does anybody know if their program specifically requires MLA or APA? Use the chat box and let me know. Because if your program does not require you to write an APA, I would highly suggest that we stick with MLA. Only because, to me, it's easier to learn. And if you have a pretty good foundational knowledge of MLA, then APA doesn't seem so hard when you have to do it, okay? So if you don't know and you want to let me know what program you're in, like you can let me know in the chat box, I can probably give you a pretty good idea if your program is going to require you to do APA. So why don't you guys, in the chat box, send me a private message and let me know what program you're in school. And if you're just in your gen eds, just say gen eds. Okay. Okay, a couple more of you. If you haven't let me know what your program is. I think I'm missing from one of you. Let me see. Because I kind of want to know what's going to help everybody out the best, okay? All right, so here is what I'm seeing. I'm not really going to refer to any names, just to the actual majors here. I am looking, and we have a nice mixed bag here. Let me see, we've got IT, we've got physical therapy, business management, and entrepreneurship. And I can never say that, entrepreneurship, whatever. Okay, I can read words, but for some reason there's a disconnect between my brain and my mouth. Boy, isn't that just a theme for my life. Okay, so overall, I would say you guys should do probably MLA. The only one that I'm teetering on is the physical therapy assistant, and here's why. A lot of times our health programs want you to write in an APA format. So I don't know. So I might have you go and double check on that. For today, we're actually going to cover both formats, just so you guys kind of have a real basic knowledge of the two different types of formats and kind of can choose from there. So as I said, overall, I would say you guys are probably pretty safe to stick with MLA, except for my friends that are in any of the health type fields. We might need, once you start working on your research paper, we're not starting on it yet, but once we start working on the research paper, you might have to do it in APA. So do me a favor. I don't know if you have a program head that you could talk to, or student services person that's been helping you out this whole time. If you can double check. Otherwise, I'm going to totally leave it up to you. Okay. So that maybe was helpful. It maybe wasn't helpful. Overall, for the next few assignments, I'd say we're probably safe doing MLA. But for the research paper, that's when we might need to start looking at, hey, you need to do APA, you need to do MLA. Okay. So let's go over the basics. I'll give you guys a little bit of a foundation of basics here. I am going to direct your eyes over to the left side of the screen here. Okay, this is where we've got all of our tabs and everything. So I'm going to remind you, because I think I said it like the first day of class, and there's such an information dump, you know, how we expect you to remember anything from the first day of class. I don't know. Obviously, we have our class information section, which has the announcements. It has our virtual classroom, talks about how this class works. It's where you can find the syllabus, and it's where you can find your grades. Now, before we jump into MLA and APA, I want to go through some of these tabs. How many of you guys knew, and you can tell me in the chat box, how many of you knew that I actually leave feedback on some of your homework assignments? Have you guys seen that at all? Okay, so let me kind of show you. So it looks like some of you are seeing it and some of you aren't. Now, unfortunately, my gradebook's going to be empty because it's, you know, I'm the teacher. I haven't submitted any homework. But what happens is, once you guys submit, so let's see here, what have you guys done here? Okay, so like the annotated bibliography, source 1, that final draft is due tonight by midnight. So once you submit it, it should show you, I believe it's like a little yellow dot with an exclamation point, which means it needs to be graded, okay? Once I grade it, obviously you have your points, but there should be, it will look like a little chat bubble, okay? And if you click on that chat bubble, it will open up another little window and it will give you my feedback. You know, I don't put feedback on everything. Sometimes if it's just, you know, a discussion board, a lot of times I leave the feedback on the actual discussion board. But if you ever see a little word bubble, I want you to click on it, because usually the reason that I give you feedback is because I'm trying to tell you, hey, this is great, but can you work on this? It will make your writing stronger. Okay, so keep that in mind. That when you do go and check your grades, if there is like a little voice bubble, I want you to click on it and read my feedback, okay? Now, as far as the class materials tab, we know that this is, sorry, all of a sudden I have a tickle in my throat. This is where we've got all of our learning plans, which we kind of bounce back and forth from. And then we also have our sources folder, which has all of those language articles that we've been reading. You can, I'm going to scroll back up now. If you're ever at home and you guys are working on one of the mini assignments, that I've asked you guys to do, it is probably going to be difficult to remember, oh my gosh, which learning plan was this in? How am I supposed to figure out where it's at without having to go back into the video and, try to scroll around? So when in doubt and you are just completely unsure, here's what I want to point out to you. If it's an assignment, all you have to do, it's kind of like a shortcut. Click on the assignments tab and it will bring you to all of these different assignment folders. Okay, so know that this is here should you ever get confused which learning plan had the assignment in it. Okay, the discussion board. We have a lot of discussion boards in our semester here together. So when in doubt, just come to the discussion board. Now, I've had a few of you ask, because with the annotated bibliography, you're supposed to, in the end, you'll have 4 annotated bibliographies. I've had a couple of you ask if you can work ahead. Now, I don't necessarily mind you working ahead and drafting your annotations for whichever selection you make of the sources. But I would actually like you to wait to submit your final draft. And the reason why is because we will be doing a revision group for all 4 of the annotated bibliographies. You'll notice as well, you have 3 different papers coming up. There is a revision group for those papers as well. The revision group discussion boards are available for you guys to give you additional help, okay? That's why it's so important that you have your drafts ready and on these boards for the proper class time, because not only does it give you an opportunity to have some of your peers look over your drafts, but you'll get feedback from me as well. So, why not take that opportunity to get some additional feedback, some additional eyes to look over? So if you want to work ahead, you want to read ahead, I have no problem with that. But I really would actually like you guys to wait to submit final drafts until we've had the opportunity to go through the revision groups. Do you guys have any questions on that? Like I said, I've had a few of you ask, so I just want to make sure that I answered your questions regarding these revision group discussion boards. Okay. I'm going to go scroll back up. So same thing. So we have assignments, discussion board, journal entries. Okay. They're all gathered in folders together. You don't have to remember which learning plan to find them in. Just click on the tab. And then just another reminder, I do have like to-do lists. So, you've got the course calendar built right into Blackboard. You have the syllabus that has the course calendar in there. And then you have this tab that has the weekly to-do lists. So there's always somewhere that you can find, oh, hey, what's due tonight? What's coming up? It's there for your view, okay? Let me scroll back up here again. And then, of course, we have our class session recordings. I'm hoping you guys, I usually do try to put the link in the email, but the recordings are right here, okay? So, right over here, class materials. I've got all these awesome tabs, okay? Learning plans and sources, assignments, discussion board, journal entry, class to-do list, class session recordings, okay? All right here. I love a good to-do list. So, but you'll notice I've added one more tab. Okay. Let me answer this. So throughout class, you guys do send me like questions in the chat box. So I will try to pause every once in a while and answer. So I don't want you to think that I'm ever ignoring you whenever you post in there, okay? I'm trying to multitask. Okay, so I've added one more tab into the class materials folder. You guys are going to have to rely really heavily on MLA or APA, and I want you to have as many resources as possible. So they're organized in actually a couple different places. So I'm looking at my to-do list over here. Let's go into this tab. Okay, let's go into the MLA APA tab. So here's what we're going to do. We're actually going to go through the style overviews together. Because like I said, I want you to have kind of that bare foundation for both formats, okay? So in this tab, I have overviews, and they're totally awesome, and you're going to see them in just a second. We're going to go through some video overviews that for both styles, they talk about formatting, in-text citation, the different types of sources page. I've got some activities that we're going to do a little bit later. These I just put in here because another class had asked, like in one of their research papers, they wanted to put an image in their research paper, and they weren't quite sure how to cite that. So those resources are here. Now, if you guys remember, I'm going to click over to our language sources folder, okay? If you guys remember, I've shown this to you. For all of the sources that we're asking you to read through this class, we have already created the citations for you. So you don't have to create the citations for these sources. You're welcome, by the way. But later on, you're going to be asked to go and find some other sources on your own, okay? And sometimes it'll be nice and convenient, and it'll be like the Wikipedia page where you can click cite this page. You know what? Maybe sometimes you go to click cite this page and there's an issue and it won't cite the page for you. So you are going to need to create a citation for yourself. So I have 3 different citation generator sites that you can go to. Citation Machine, EasyBib, and NightCite. Now, of the 3, Citation Machine is my favorite. That's my preference. But, I mean, you do you, and see whatever helps you out. So, let's do one together. Okay, just so you can kind of see how it works. I'm going to click on Citation Machine. And it'll do this because it's just letting you know, hey, I got to open up a new window. And you can say, okay. All right, so let's create a citation. And you know what we're going to do? Let's use the web page of this pink used to be yellow. So I'm just going to go ahead and click website. Okay, I'm going to click back over onto the article. All you have to do is highlight the address at the top here. Okay, you guys see what I did there? I just highlighted the mental floss article page. If you are working on a Macintosh, you can press Command C to copy it. If you're working on a PC, it's Control C. Okay. Come back over to Citation Machine. Command V, like Vicky, pastes it in there, or Control V. So we tell Citation Machine, hey, go find this page. And what it does is it goes and it locates the page. And sure enough, look, it found it. Yay! So we're going to tell it to cite it. and it's going to try to pull out as much information as possible. So see, they were able to get the title, the URL, the website title, and even like the date accessed and the date published. That's pretty cool. But you'll notice there's a few things missing. So let's hit continue. We always want to try and find an author if we can. Okay, so let's go back over to our web page and let's do some scrolling. A lot of times our author is either at the very, very top or the very, very bottom. Okay, look, we have an author name and citation machine. I mean, it's just a computer generated thing, so it's not perfect. So we have Paul Anthony Jones is our author. All right, so, whoops, not RuPaul, Paul. And if you have one, Anthony, was it Jones? Yes. Make sure I get the right name. Jones. Okay. So let's see if there's anything else that maybe, nope, it looks like it got everything. Okay, cool. So I'm going to show you one more thing. So what you do is you just click complete citation. Here's the bummer parts of these websites. So they're free, but you got to watch a sponsored message, okay? So, and you have to keep it open. Let's see here. No, I'm not a chief information officer. Do I want to keep? Yeah, sure. I like clean floors. Okay. So sometimes you will have to do this just in order to get your citation. But you know what? They're doing us a favor. So, you know, we're just going to go ahead and roll with it. Okay. We're just going to keep going. I'm not even necessarily paying attention, but I did see the fact that I am female. Okay. Let's just say I'm older than I want to be. Okay. So once you do that, then it generates your citation. But here's what I need you guys to pay attention to. Look, it's got APA 6 selected. For our purposes, you need to either choose MLA 8 or APA 7. Okay. So if you, you need to pay attention to these different things. So shoot, I need to go to MLA 8. So I do that and it fixed the citation for me. And so then all I would have to do is copy this citation and I can put it right in my paper. Okay. So if something happens and you're on a page that doesn't automatically generate a citation for you, you guys just need to remember, let's go back here. You just need to remember that these citation generators are here for you to use, okay? Any questions on what I just did there? I know some of you commented that you've used these before. I had one student that was just like a diehard night site citation person, but just not my favorite. So, you know, we each have our own preferences. Okay, sorry, I needed a drink of water. All right, let's see here. Yes, okay. So just keep in mind that when you go to Citation Machine and EasyBib, they look really, really similar. They have all the stupid pop-up ads, and I'm sorry about that. Well, I don't have any control over that. If you pay for a subscription, then it gets rid of them, but I'm all about freebies. So just remember that you'll probably have to watch, I think you have to watch one ad every 24 hours, something like that. Okay. Night Site is very, very different. Let me show you. This one is, it just has the boxes that you fill in. So you have to go and you have to find all the information. You put all the information in there and then you click submit and it formats it for you. Okay. So that one is a little bit different. Great. But you can probably see why I don't like Night Site. Makes me do all the work. I want it to do as much of the work as possible. Okay. So let's jump into this. I'm going to scroll up to the top. So MLA 8 style overview. So I'm going to get rid of some of my windows. I have so many windows here. I'm going to click on it and it's going to take me to this website. This is the Excelsior Online Writing Lab. And this is the coolest website. It has so much information for you guys. We're going to go through a lot of information today. And if you're anything like me, you're probably going to retain like a tenth of it. Okay. So just know that you can always come back to this page. And I'm not going to cover every single tab on this page. We don't got time for that today, right? We got to be able to get through some stuff. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take you through a little bit of it. The first thing that I want to do is to show you this video that goes over MLA 8, just kind of general overview of the specifics that you need to know. All right. So I'm going to push play and make sure that everybody can see and hear, and then we'll go from there. All right.
This short video will provide you with key information.
All right. Everybody see and hear okay? Okay, cool. All right. So, as I said, I encourage note taking, but just know that you still have access to this website and all of this information even when we're done with class, okay? So let's watch this.
About how to set up and format your papers in MLA format. We will cover things like spacing, headings, and headers, information you need to ensure the pages of your document meet the expectations of MLA format. First, you will notice that MLA does not require a cover page, as some formatting styles do. In MLA, on the first page of your essay, you should have what is called a heading. This heading is placed in the top left-hand corner of your page. You should list the following items in the correct order: your name, your professor's name, the name of your course, and the date, using military format where the date appears before the month. Remember, the heading appears only on page 1. At the top right corner of each page, you will place your header. Your header should include your last name and the page number. You will need to use the header function in your word processing program to make proper headers that will appear on every page. The header should be placed 1/2 inch from the top of the page and 1 inch from the right side of the page. We will now look at the text of your essay and examine the formatting requirements that begin here. You will center your title below your heading. Your title should be the same font as the rest of your text and should not be in italics or bold font. In terms of line spacing, you will notice your text is double-spaced, always. There are no exceptions to this in MLA. Even long or block quotes should be double-spaced. You should use 12-point font in MLA format. The MLA recommends a clear, standard font style, such as Times New Roman. You should also set your margins to 1 inch and use left alignment. This means your alignment is standard on the left but jagged on the right. In terms of spacing within your text, you should always indent for new paragraphs 1/2 inch. Using your tab key will allow you to indent appropriately. MLA recommends single spacing after end punctuation, such as periods. However, the MLA does not consider it to be incorrect to double space after end punctuation, as some professors may prefer double spacing after periods. Be sure to check with your professor, but know that single spacing is considered the standard. These are the basic requirements for setting up your document in MLA format. For more detailed information, be sure to consult the MLA Handbook 8th edition.
Okay. So part of the reasons that I like MLA is because it's just really straightforward. It's nice. It's clean. It doesn't have a whole lot of bells and whistles. Okay. So just remember, When you're doing the general formatting of your document, you need to have this type of name heading. Okay, that is required. It has to be there. On any assignment that I ask you to do, like MLA or APA formatting, you have to have the name heading on top there. Okay, that includes from here on out your journal entries. So I've kind of just been letting it fly a little bit because we haven't really had an opportunity to go over the different types of formatting. But from here on out, when I'm asking you to format something properly, make sure that you are following the general guidelines, okay? So make sure that you have a name heading that's your name, my name, the class name, so you could put English Comp 1, and then the date, but make sure you list that date in military formatting, okay? You also need to have page numbers, okay? And the page number and your last name needs to go into the header of your document, okay? If you use Microsoft Word or Pages, I'm trying to think if there's another one. I think even Google Docs, they're automatically set to give you like this 1-inch margin. Okay, but if something should happen and you're typing and you're like, why is my words like all the way over here? You need to make sure that you have your margins set for this 1 inch, okay? The other thing about MLA is, I don't know if you caught what she said. You've got the title, you know, at the top of your paper, but it's the same size font. We don't bold it. We don't put it in italics. It's just like the regular rest of the font in the paper. So take to the chat box and tell me, what size of font am I supposed to use in MLA 8? What size? She told us. Okay, yep, I'm seeing it. Let me see if the rest of you get it. Let me know. What size font? And if you don't know, that's okay, because I'm going to tell you in a second. I'll confirm if you guessed correctly. Okay. Whoop, there we go. Now I got a couple more here. So yes, it's 12-point font. So that's the other thing. I know specifically with Microsoft Word and Google Docs, the default is actually set at 11-point. So you'll want to change that. The reason that it's 12-point is, believe it or not, they did actual studies, and 12-point font is the most, I guess, universally accepted as it's the size that most everybody can see. Even older people who were, you know, needing reading glasses can see size 12. Now, she had told us there's a specific style of font that we should use. Did you guys catch that by chance? Tell me in the text box, chat box. Because if you're not someone that does typing a lot, you may not have caught that. Okay, yep. I have somebody pop in here. Okay, so she mentioned specifically, I'm typing in our chat box. She mentioned specifically Times New Roman. However, it's acceptable to have a font as long as it's not like, we don't want fancy. I had a student one time, no lie, wrote a paper. The entire paper was size 14 font, and it was that Lucinda handwriting. And the individual had done it because they were just trying to see if they could stretch it out to get as many pages as possible. So, but you can also use, I'm typing these here. Okay. So you can use Arial, Helvetica, Calibri, any of those just real generic fonts, okay? Really straightforward, easy to read. Now, I know this probably sounds like super nitpicky, but we look at this stuff when we grade your papers. I mean, like, seriously, we check the size font that you're using. Oh, there's a cat that's going to be meowing here. Sorry. We check for your spacing. Did you catch what she said for spacing? How are you supposed to, what spacing are you supposed to use for your paper? Think, okay. Oh, okay. I'm going to see if one or two more of you get it. Yep, 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 yep. Okay, good. Double space. Everything is double spaced. Everything, even down to your works cited page, is double spaced. Okay. All right, awesome. Let me take you just a little bit further here. All right. Let's talk about in-text citations. So with our papers, we are using other sources. We are looking at other people's work, okay? Anytime we do that, whether we're paraphrasing, quoting, summarizing, in our papers, we have to cite our sources. I mean, you guys have noticed with your annotated bibliography, we had to have that citation at the top. We're giving credit to the individual who wrote this piece. We have to give them credit. So let's talk a little bit about in-text citations. On annotated bibliographies, we don't use in-text citations. That's kind of the cool thing about that paper. We just put the citation up on the top, and then we can write our summary and our evaluation. But as we move forward, and I'm going to introduce a paper that I want you to start working on later on here, you're going to need to cite some sources. You're going to have to use some quotes and stuff. So let's look at how we do that in a body of a paper. Okay, so this is MLA in-text citations. I'm going to go ahead and play it. If for whatever reason the sound goes wonky or whatever, just let me know in the chat box, okay?
This short video tutorial will focus on the basic setup for in-text citations, sometimes called parenthetical references, in MLA format. It is first helpful to get an idea about why in-text citations are important and when they should be used. In MLA, you should use citations in parentheses within the text to let your audience know when you have borrowed information and where that information has come from. Most students know to cite direct quotes, but it is important to remember you must also include in-text citations for summarized and paraphrased information. You are not just citing words, you are citing ideas. For more information about when you should cite borrowed information, be sure to check out the Avoiding Plagiarism tutorial here in the OWL. The basic in-text citation in MLA format includes the author's last name and the page number. Here you will see the basic version of an in-text citation. Here are two examples. In the first example, you see a citation for Nietzsche with a page number of 125, and then another basic citation with the last name Le Guin and a page number of 828. You should notice that MLA requires no commas between the author's name and the page number. If you use the author's last name to set up your quoted or paraphrased material, you do not need to repeat the author's last name in the citation. You would just include the page number, as you see here, with the number 827 in the in-text citation. If you need to cite an electronic source with no page numbers, as in this instance, you should just include the author's last name. Although we do not have an example here, if you find a credible source that does not have an author, you would simply place the title of the work in your in-text citation. In closing, the important thing to remember about in-text citations in MLA format is to cite any ideas you borrow and to include only the required information in your in-text citation. Full publication information will be saved for your works cited list. And keep in mind that your in-text citations and your works cited page must coordinate or match.
Oops, sorry. Okay, do you guys have any questions on that at all? Okay, that's a very good question. So the question popped through here. So no endnotes? You are correct. No endnotes, but we are about to talk about a works cited page, and that kind of takes place of that. Okay, good question though. So in just a moment, I'm going to show you a video that talks about a works cited page. That is where we store all of our source information. Okay, so some of you may have written papers using endnotes, footnotes, source columns, things like that. That's not how we're going to set things up in class. We're going to follow either this MLA format or the APA format, okay? So you need to cite your source within your paper itself, okay? Now, remember what she had said. Ideally, we want the author's name and the page number. If we don't have a page number, which sometimes that's going to happen, with these online articles that we find, that's totally cool. Just make sure that you put the author's name in there. If by chance we don't have an author's name, then we use a shortened version of the article title. So, I'm looking at the screen here, and let's just pretend that we didn't have Ursula Le Guin's name. Okay, there was no author's name whatsoever. So in my in-text citation, so the little yellow box here, I would end up putting a shortened version of the title. So maybe I would just do "the ones who walk." And I would put those in quotation marks because look it's an article title. Article titles are in quotation marks, and publication, like whether it's a book, a website, whatever, go in italics, okay? You need to make sure that if I look in your paper and I see parentheses, that the information in the parentheses is going to guide me to that source on your works cited page. And honestly, that's the first thing that I look at when I'm reading your papers. I go through, I don't even read the paper. I just go through and I look for the sources and I try to connect them to your works cited page. And I make sure they're formatted correctly and I make sure they're all accounted for. If you're quoting a source and you have an in-text citation within the body of your paper, you better have a source listed on your works cited page, okay? Otherwise, it's accidental plagiarism, okay? So we really want to make sure we stay on top of that. And again, this is one of the reasons why we utilize the revision group, because those extra eyes will help us catch things like that, okay? All right, any other questions on in-text citations? Okay, so just remember, there's 3 reasons that we would need to have an in-text citation. We quoted a source, we paraphrased a source, or we summarized a source. Okay, if we're using their ideas at any point in time, we have to cite them, give them credit, okay? All right, so once we've done all that, we need to make sure that we have all of that information. Very, very last page of our document is called a works cited page, okay? That is where we locate all of our sources. That's where we organize them. That's where we put them, okay? So let's hear about a works cited page.
This short video will provide you with the basic information for formatting your works cited page. Before we look at an example list and entry, here are some things to remember about your works cited list. No source should appear on your works cited list that is not cited in your paper with an in-text citation. Your teacher may offer the option of a works consulted page, but cited means you cited that source in your text. Your sources should be listed in alphabetical order by the first word of each entry. The 8th edition of the MLA Handbook provides a system of containers for presenting each source on your works cited list. Because each source type has different kinds of publication information, each source will be formatted a little differently. The MLA resources in the OWL provide models for each source type to help you follow MLA's new container system. Be sure to refer to those resources as you format each source. Let's take a look at one example from a works cited list to get an idea about how entries should be formatted. The first entry on this works cited list is a journal article found within a database. There are specific publication elements of journal articles from databases that you should provide. You will first provide the original publication information in the first container. This includes the author, the title of the article, the title of the journal, the volume number, the issue number, and the date. If your source has page numbers, the page numbers should be placed after the date. Because this source has no page numbers, after that information is provided, the second container information is provided. In this case, the database is the second container, for the source provides information about how the source was accessed. It was accessed through a database called JSTOR, so that information is provided. Because each source type includes specific information unique to that source type, once you become more familiar with MLA style, you can recognize a source type just by looking at the works cited list. Here you can see that a journal article accessed from a database looks very different from a book. Remember that your works cited entries should always be double-spaced. You should use the hanging indent to indent any lines after the first line in each entry. This sample works cited should get you started, and the MLA works cited resource here in the OWL can help you format each of your works cited entries using the new MLA container system.
All right. I'm sorry if you heard my chairs squeaking and the door opened, but the cat was meowing, and so I was trying to get it out. Okay. So hopefully that makes some sense. The connection of what's on the works cited page to the in-text citations. I'm going to see if I can.
At each of your works cited.
I want to go like this. Okay. So I don't expect you guys to have the whole container system memorized. But I want you to have a general knowledge of what needs to be included in these citations. Like I said, we've already generated the citations for the sources that we're reading in this class, but you are going to have the opportunity to do some research on your own. Yes, you can use Citation Machine and EasyBib, but you need to be able to, if I use Citation Machine, I need to be conscious of, oh, hey, I need to go look for an author. Maybe there's not an author, but I need to make sure that I double check, because I actually do go and look at all your sources. Okay. And I do that because I want to make sure that you're formatting them correctly. I want to help prevent you guys from committing accidental plagiarism. Okay. And I know we've gone through our hanging indent because we've had to use the sources on our annotated bibliographies, but just remember that you've got your works cited title at the top of your page. Again, not bolded, not italicized, just straightforward works cited. All of our citations on our works cited page are alphabetical order. We follow through with that whole double spacing. It's still part of our document, so it's all double spaced. So yeah, again, I don't expect you to memorize it. Feel free to come back to the video or this site, even to help you remember what you need to do. This site is an amazing site. So, look at all of this MLA information. Maybe you want to go back and look at some, avoiding plagiarism. You can go there. There's even some grammar essentials here if you guys want some more help. So it's an amazing site. So any questions regarding MLA formatting or in-text citations, anything like that? Okay, well, that was MLA in a nutshell. Okay, that was like the super fast version of MLA. Now, I really want to give you an overview of APA. Okay, so just in case, I do maybe have a couple of you who later on, when we start that persuasive or that research paper, maybe you're going to need to switch to APA. So let's go ahead and get an overview of APA. Okay, so it's going to take us to the same site. It's just that I don't know if you noticed, and sometimes it does this because it remembers where I was last. So if you click the link and it brings you to MLA, just click APA. Okay, it's going to load up all the APA stuff. Now, MLA, Modern Language Association, APA, American Psychological Association. So usually it's like medical field, health field, science, like really, really sciencey. That tends to be those types of paper need an APA formatting, okay? So let me take you through, same thing that we did with MLA. Let's go to an overview, in-text citations, and then the sources page for APA is called references. So MLA is works cited, APA is references. So let's go through these and see if you guys have any questions, okay? Bear with me. Let's get through APA, then we'll take a break and then jump back into things, okay? So if you guys are sitting there going, oh my gosh, I can't take this much longer, just hang in a little bit longer, okay? All right, so this is APA 7. It is the newest version. It actually just came out last October. I do believe MLA is updating theirs as well. So be prepared for maybe next semester or the semester after for some changes to happen with MLA. But as long as we have the basic foundation, we're doing good. So here is an APA 7 overview.
This short video is meant to give students who are brand new to APA format some context and basic overview information about using APA format for college papers. APA stands for the American Psychological Association, and APA format is the formatting style that many academic majors use to format their papers and cite sources within their papers. There are 3 basic parts of APA that you should understand. There is the basic format of how you set up your paper for things like your cover page, margins, line spacing, etc. There is in-text citing, where you use citations within your paper to let your readers know where your source material comes from. Finally, there is the references list, where you list all of the publication information for any sources used within your paper. We'll start with the overall formatting. In the 7th edition of APA format, you should have a cover page that includes your title, your name, the name of your program and school, the name of your class, the name of your professor, and the date. You should also have the page number at the top right corner. Your page numbers should appear on every page. You should begin your essay on the next page. Your margin should be 1 inch all the way around. You should use a clean standard font, and you should double space your lines and single space after all punctuation. Be sure to indent by hitting tab for all new paragraphs. Next, we will explore in-text citing. It is important to remember that you must cite your sources within your text when you quote, summarize, and paraphrase information from your sources. This means you must cite even information you put into your own words. In APA, there are 2 basic structures for in-text citations, the narrative citation and the parenthetical citation. The narrative citation is used when you mention the author or author's last names within the sentence. In this kind of citation, the year citation is placed after the author or author's last names, and any page or paragraph citations come at the end. The parenthetical citation is used when you haven't mentioned the author or author's names within the sentence. This citation includes the author or author's last names, year, and page number if necessary for a direct quote. Finally, we will take a look at a references page. The references page is where you will provide full publication and retrieval information for your sources. The references page is presented in alphabetical order, and it is important to remember that your in-text citations must match up with your references. APA provides guidelines for formatting each reference based on source type. Be sure to refer to the References section in the Excelsior OWL for more information about how to format your references.
Okay, that one's a little bit different, isn't it? Let me go to the very beginning.
In the 7th edition of APA.
Shh, we don't need your help. Okay, so APA formatted a little bit different. I mean, we have a similarity with fonts and margins and spacing, but, you know, with MLA where we had the name heading, which was your name, professor's name, class, and the date written in the military format, APA asks that you have a completely separate page. You have a title page that has just the little page number up in the right. You wouldn't put the last name like you do for MLA. So just the page number. Then you have a title, which you can bold. Then you go for your name, the school's name, the class name, the professor name, and then the date written how we normally write date, month, day, year, okay? So that's a page all by itself. Then you actually go to the body of your paper, okay? That's when you jump into it. But yeah, APA, this is where you can bold your titles. You still don't make it bigger than the rest. Like, don't write me a paper and have like a ginormous title at the top that takes like a huge paragraph space. It still has to be the same size font as everything else. But you probably noticed that the in-text citations are a little bit different than APA, right? So keep that in mind. If you have a sentence where you mention your author's last name, you have to put the publication date right after that author's name, even if it's in the middle of the sentence, okay? And then if you are just paraphrasing or summarizing, then your in-text citation goes at the very, very end of your sentence. And that's where we want author's name, publication date, and page number. So if you have that information, please put that in there. MLA, we didn't have any punctuation within our in-text citation, within those parentheses. APA uses commas to separate, okay? So kind of keep those in mind. Any questions on APA formatting? Okay, let's look a little deeper into in-text citations. Okay, so kind of try to be thinking of this stuff. Okay, yeah, so MLA does this, APA does that. I have like a review that we're going to do next week after you've had a week to kind of digest all of these things. All right, so APA in-text citations. Let's take a look at it a little more in depth.
This short video will focus on the basic setup for in-text citations in APA format. It is first helpful to get an idea about why in-text citations are important and when they should be used. In APA, you should use citations in parentheses within the text to let your audience know when you have borrowed information and where that information has come from. Most students know to cite direct quotes, but it is important to remember you must also include in-text citations for summarized and paraphrased information. You are not just citing words, you are citing ideas. For more information about what kinds of information must be cited within your text, be sure to review the Avoiding Plagiarism tutorial in the Excelsior OWL. In APA, the basic in-text citation, referred to as a parenthetical citation, includes the author's last name, the year, and the page number or paragraph number. Please note the page or paragraph numbers are only required for direct quotes. Here you will see the basic version of an in-text citation. In parentheses after the quote, you should provide the author's last name, a comma, the year, a comma, a P and a period, followed by the page number. Also, in this example, the source included 3 authors, so the student has listed et al. After the first name. There are variations on the standard in-text citation, however, as you will often use the author or author's last names as you set up a quote or paraphrased material. This is referred to as a narrative citation. Here, you will notice the student has used the author's name to set up this quoted material. You must place the year after the mention of the name. Then you will need an additional citation for the page number after the quote. Let's take a closer look at a citation from an online source that did not include a page number. In this case, APA requires that you list the paragraph number. You will notice the PARA, para, in the citation. This lets your readers know that there were no page numbers, but this is the paragraph number for that information. Finally, it is important to think about punctuation for your in-text documentation as well. In APA, you should place commas between each item in your in-text citations. For short quotes or paraphrases, you should place your period after the in-text citation. For longer quotes or block quotes, you should place your period before the citation. In closing, the important thing to remember is to cite any ideas you borrow and to include only the required information in your in-text citation. Full publication information will be saved for your references list, which is explored in the References section on APA format in the Excelsior OWL.
Okay, so a little bit more in depth in regards to what your in-text citations should look like. MLA, there's no punctuation in the parentheses. APA, we have punctuation, we have commas that separate. With MLA, we list the page number, but we just put the number and that's it. APA, we actually, put, the P period or PP period if it's more than one page. For APA, if you have like a web article with no page numbers, you actually have to list what paragraph you found that information in. So let's say you paraphrase a section of information, whether it's one paragraph or 2 paragraphs, you need to put the para, P-A-R-A, period, and let us know which paragraph or paragraphs you found that information in, okay? So can you see why this would be beneficial if you had to write like a health paper, and you are citing these scientists or doctors, you need to get that specific information within their document. So, okay, any questions on APA in-text citation? Gotta go to right here. Okay. So, last video, and then I'll let you guys go on break for a little bit, okay? All right. MLA has a sources page at the very, very end of the document called Works Cited, and that's where all of our source information is at. APA has a references page. So let's get a little more in-depth information on what our references page needs to look like for APA.
This APA video will provide you with the basic information for formatting your references page. Here are some important things to remember about your references list. No source should appear on your references list that is not cited in your paper with in-text citations. Your sources should be listed in alphabetical order by the first word of each entry. Each source type has its own structure. So a book has a certain structure, as does a journal article, a magazine article, etc. You should not try to memorize the structures. You simply have to look up the formatting each time you begin putting together your references. You can use a reference generator, but be careful to always double check, as the generators often make mistakes. The APA References section in the OWL provides you with visual support and clear examples for each source type. Pay close attention to the capitalization rules in your references, as APA does not follow what you might perceive as standard capitalization for some titles. For example, in article titles, you should capitalize only the first word, any proper nouns, and the first letter of the subtitle, which is found after the colon. APA refers to this capitalization style as sentence case capitalization. When you begin your references page, you will notice that it is simply another page in your document, so you should have the page number at the top right. You should center the word references at the top of your page and then begin your entries. The word references should be in bold font. Keep your line spacing at double spaced. In this short video, we cannot address all the many types of sources you might encounter, but this short list of references contains a YouTube video, an article from an online newspaper, a website, and a journal article. A nice thing about following APA formatting carefully is that your readers can tell by simply looking at your references list what kinds of sources you used because of the structure and order of information. This can help your readers note your diverse and credible sources even at a glance. Remember, it is important to keep a good APA resource handy as you create your references list. You may rely on the APA Manual 7th edition or the helpful APA resources in the Excelsior Online Writing Lab.
Okay. So, similar to MLA in that, it's one page specifically for our sources. It has to be double spaced. It needs to be put in alphabetical order. It's just that APA has a different structure as far as how they set up their citations. And again, we don't expect you
sources
to,
even at a glance.
We don't expect you to memorize how to format them, but you do need to keep in mind what it's supposed to look like, so that way you can catch any errors that maybe Citation Machine gives you. So she made a really good point that I didn't point out to you when I had used Citation Machine before. With APA, our titles use what's called that sentence case. Okay, so if you look at, I'm going to look right there for that sorting out the truth. You'll notice that the only thing that's capitalized is the S. That's it. Okay. In MLA, we use the actual title capitalization. So I'm going to click away from this window here really quickly and go back to that pink used to be the be yellow. I thought there was another word in there. So if you look up on my screen here where I have my cursor hovering, it has the title correctly. So it has everything capitalized. The only words we wouldn't capitalize in an MLA title is and, the, a. The only time we would capitalize those if they were at the very beginning of the title. But if I click on that and I can just double check, good, there's a good example that it's all capitalized. What I noticed, and I forgot to point out to you guys, is when I went through Citation Machine, it messed up the title a little bit. It capitalized pink. It used sentence case. And that was because I had accidentally used APA. And that should have been my first clue that I wasn't formatting right. So it's all those little nitpicky things that will help you be a little bit more aware of what you're doing. Okay. As I've said, I don't know how many times now, I don't expect you to memorize all of this. This website is amazing. The links I have right there in Blackboard for you. Look at this. If you're trying to figure out your in-text citations, look at all the different APA references that it will walk you through how to do that. It takes you through the formatting guide. There's sample papers in here. And then it also has the same thing for MLA. It gives you all these different lists of in-text citations for MLA. Oh, I don't know. I have a citation that has more than 3 authors. What do I do? Well, I can click on it and it will tell me what to do. Okay. There's so many rules. I don't expect you to memorize them, but I do expect you to utilize the resources that we have available for you, okay? Any questions on MLA, APA, this website? Okay. That was a lot of heavy information. So I want you guys to go take a break. I'm going to give you a 15-minute break. I want you to get up, walk around, go be human, do whatever you need to do. Breathe, because we're going to jump right back into it after our break. Okay? So 15 minutes starting now. I'll check in with you once it's done. Okay? All right, so here is what I want you guys to do. Just as a reminder, I'm going to go back out and come back into it just so I make sure that you guys know where all this is at. So let's say I'm just coming to Blackboard. Always goes to the announcement page. So what I want you to do is I want you to, hopefully you're in Blackboard. I want you to go to the class materials. Go down to that MLA 8, APA 7 help tab, and that pulls up all that information. So the links right here, the videos and everything we went over, it was through these links right here. That takes you to that Excelsior website, okay? Here's what I want you guys to do now. I want you to choose MLA or APA, whatever you think you will end up doing when we start working on research papers, okay? As I said, you can do MLA. You don't have to do APA. Maybe you would only want to do APA if you are one of my health field people, and it's going to be required for your program, okay? So let's just say I want to use MLA formatting. So I want you guys, just don't necessarily do it yet. Just again, let me walk you through the instructions. I'm going to want you to choose a knowledge check, okay? So the Excelsior website has an activity on there called knowledge check. So let me click the link. It should open up in a new window. And this is what it looks like. The APA one is very similar as well. So it's like little slides here, okay? And all it is it's just going to check your knowledge, see what you soaked up from these videos, okay? You're going to be asked questions about like how to correct some in-text citations, even works cited entries. You're going to be asked to look for errors in some sample in-text citations and works cited entries. So it's just going to take you through the slides. You can just click the little arrow right here, and it'll take you to the next one. So you'll get questions like this. It'll say, select the error in MLA formatting in the sample works cited entry for a website below. So there's an error in here somewhere. You need to try to figure out what the error is, trying to think of what we watched in the video and maybe what you already know of MLA formatting. And you'll click on a section of it, you know, whatever you need to click. I'm just clicking just to click. So you'll click on it. So if I think that the website is wrong, like I'm not supposed to have a URL, whatever I think is wrong, I'll click it and then I'll check and it will tell me whether I'm right or wrong, and it will explain, okay? So what I want you guys to do is to choose which formatting you think maybe you'll do. You can always come back to these later if you want to. So choose an MLA 8 or an APA 7 knowledge check. Go through the activity. When you are done with the knowledge check, I want you to let me know, send me a private message in the chat box and say all done or finished or hey, what's up? Just something, just to let me know, okay? Any questions on what I'm asking you to do? All right, well, go ahead, get started. I'm going to turn my camera off, but I'm right here. So let me know when you are done with your knowledge check, okay? if by chance you didn't get to finish it, or if you even want to try it again, just to keep testing your knowledge, or see if you can answer something correctly this time that you didn't last time, those links are always available. So whenever you guys want to use them, please feel free to access all of that awesome information, okay? Do you guys have any questions with the formatting, in-text citations, sources page, any of that? Okay. I did want to show you one more thing here in our learning plans and sources, okay? So I don't know if I make you dizzy with this class, but I tend to kind of pop around to each of the different learning plans. We don't necessarily go down a straight line. But in Learning Plan 5, all of the information in Learning Plan 5 is about research and documentation. So when we're talking about documentation, we're talking about MLA, APA. So if you open up Learning Plan 5, there are actually, there is this activity that you guys can do anytime you want to. There's not an assignment. There's no grade attached to it. But just so you know, NWTC's virtual library is amazing. Okay, so as we are moving forward and you guys have to do some research, I love the setup here for the NWTC library. So it'll bring you to this page, and look at it. It has all these tools here. It has, online tutorials. So like how to use a library search, how to find nursing articles. I don't have a lot of nursing students in this class, but I do in some other classes. There's a research skills tutorial, okay? You can click on citing sources over here on the left and look at APA, MLA. There's a style guide. Then there's the guides over here. It talks about the citation generators, okay? You'll notice they have NightCite, they have Citation Machine, they have EasyBib, but they also have one that's just called Citation Builder. Excuse me. So all that stuff is in there too. And what I love is NWTC's librarians are probably the coolest librarians around. This page is set up so if you have a question for a librarian and maybe you don't want to call, okay, you can actually contact a librarian by typing a chat question in here. And they'll get back to you like ASAP. So you can do that. You can call. They even have a text number. So if you ever have a question, maybe you're working on one of our research papers and you're like, I cannot find a good source to go with this topic, or I'm confused, or, whatever, you can text them a question. Okay. So we have some pretty cool librarians. But yes, that information is right here in Learning Plan 6, okay? Or 5, sorry. No wonder you guys get confused. I'm confused. Learning Plan 5 has that virtual tour of the NWTC library, okay? So as I said, you guys have lots of resources. I just want you to know that they're here. And we don't expect you to have everything memorized, but we do expect you to try. Okay, to try. All right, if you guys don't have any questions on that, I wanted to go over just a couple of things and then maybe give a little bit of time to work, okay? All right, so really quickly, I'm going to go into the Assignments tab. Okay, so over on the left under Class Materials, Assignments tab. I'm going to pop open the Annotated Bibliography folder, because your annotation number 1 final draft is due tonight. So the link is right there. Submit Annotated Bibliography Source 1. This is the one that's due tonight. I want to load up the Annotated Bibliography assignment details and just review, okay? So just a reminder, you will end up having 4 citations by the time you are done. okay, by the time we get through all of them, get through all of our sources. Please remember, we want to have a document that is MLA or APA formatted. We've got three main parts to our annotated bibliography. We have the citation, and they've given us an example of a citation right there. Okay, so it's citation, hanging indent. Then we write 2 paragraphs. First paragraph is a summary. Second paragraph is an evaluation. Okay, first paragraph, we stay in third person. And in that first paragraph, you know, we're third person, we're being objective, but I would encourage you in that first paragraph, mention your author or mention the title of your source right away, because these annotated bibliographies are used for individuals who have never read the source. Okay, so you can't just say the author. We would want to say Christopher Jones talks about how drilling in the wilderness, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Something that you guys need to know for future reference. The first time you mention an author, you have to mention them by their full name. Okay, so I would have to mention Christopher Jones. After that, you can refer to your author by their last name. So further on in my paragraphs, I can just call them by Jones, but never call them by their first name. Okay, you are not on a first name basis with these authors. And even if you were, you would still only use their last name. Okay, so the first time you mention an author, use their full name. Anytime after that, use their last name. Okay. Please make sure that with these paragraphs, you guys are shooting for those 6 to 12 sentences. Okay, got to make sure you're doing that. I thought I included the template in here, but maybe I didn't. Okay, so in that second paragraph, that's where you guys get to have opinions. You get to have opinions about the author, the way the article was written, the language that was used, the sources that they used, the techniques that they used. So, I mean, realistically, in your second paragraph, you could actually say, I felt like Mr. Jones really wasn't very organized. I thought for his points, he was reaching and he really didn't have any facts to back him up. Okay. So in that second paragraph, you can actually be in first person because you're sharing your opinions, your evaluation of the source. Okay. I'm looking really quickly because oh, there it is right here. So if you guys remember in class, I went through a template with you guys, right? This is just a generic. So if you need to go back to this is formatted in MLA format. Okay. So I've got my last name, page number, name heading. Now, if you want to do APA formatting for your annotated bibliography, you don't need a cover page. Just put a page number here. You don't have to have the last name. So for annotated bibliography, you wouldn't do anything very special for formatting. So I've got my page number, my name heading, my title, my first citation here with my hanging indent, and then I got my summary paragraph and my evaluation paragraph. Okay. As we go on, we will just keep adding the annotations into the same document. Okay, so just so that makes sense, for the assignment for the first annotated bibliography, there's just going to be one annotation on that document. When I submit for number 2, there'll actually be 2 annotations on that document because I'm just adding. And then for the source 3, there will be 3 annotations on that document because I'm just going to keep adding. And then for 4, there's going to be 4 annotations because I'm just going to keep adding. Okay, and we're going to make them in alphabetical order, all of that good stuff. Okay, do you guys have any questions? Any annotated bibliography questions? Okay. So as I said, this is in the assignments folder, annotated bibliography. Right here up at the top has that template that we kind of went through in class. Right here, the assignment details. By midnight tonight, you need to submit the final draft of your very first annotation. Okay, so make sure you get that in by midnight tonight. Okay, sorry, I'm looking over all of what I wanted to get done and probably what I'm going to have, some stuff I'm going to have to save for next time. Okay. I want to introduce to you, let's go back into the assignments tab. I'm just going to introduce this to you. Okay. So before anybody panics, I'm going to close out of some windows here. So it will help me out. Is it this one? Okay. All right. Let's try to look at our calendar here really quickly. So today is the 12th. By tonight, you guys are going to have two things, actually. Yeah, two things. I had a heart attack there. I thought I didn't give you something. Okay, two things are due by midnight tonight. One is the annotated bibliography, your final draft, and the other is the punctuation discussion board, which I'm going to go through that in just a moment so you guys know what you have to do for the discussion board. Looking ahead as far as what you need to have ready by Wednesday, you're going to have to end up reading the very last two sources in our source folder. Okay, so when we come to class on Wednesday, I want you guys to have read The Media Exaggerates and In an Absolute State. Here's what I'm going to tell you. This In an Absolute State is a rough read. It's not very fun to read, okay? Let me show you something really quickly, though. I want you to skip. So these first two pages where it says corrigendum, okay? All right. Skip the first two pages. Don't start reading until you get to the empirical article. So skip those first two pages, completely disregard them. It's just a whole bunch of like figures. Don't worry about them, okay? Start reading at page 3 and do your best. Look for some of these keywords. Remember how in class with the sign language source, we went through and we looked up some of those key terms to make sure that we like really understood what they meant. Might need to do that for this one. Try to figure out what the basic idea of this article is, okay? Take time to read the abstract. So that's my heads up. It's a rough read, okay? I'm not discouraging you from reading it. I'm just trying to give you a realistic view. So that is something that I need you to have prepped for when we meet on Wednesday. Okay. The other thing that I need you to have prepped is you are now going to start your second annotation. Your second annotation, you need to choose either how talking about the coronavirus as an enemy combatant can backfire, or choose we call workers essential. So choose one of those. You're going to write an annotation just like you did for the first source. So you're going to start with your citation, write your summary paragraph, write your evaluation paragraph, okay? You're writing a draft to have ready for class time on Wednesday. You are going to submit that draft on the discussion board to the annotated, I just realized it has it wrong. It says annotated source 1, but that's wrong. You're going to post it on the annotated bibliography source 2 revision group. Okay, so you're going to write a rough draft, for annotation number 2, you're going to scroll down and scroll and scroll. Okay, so right underneath the Source 1 revision group, you're going to post it in the Source 2 revision group. And then when we meet on Wednesday, we're going to have another like peer review of your draft. Keep in mind, we don't expect perfection. Maybe you're struggling on building one of your paragraphs. Please utilize that time to leave a note and say, hey guys, help me out. I can only get 3 sentences for my evaluation and I don't know what else to add. So please make sure you have a draft posted on the Source 2 revision group board before class starts on Wednesday. Okay? Do you guys have any questions on what you have to do for annotated bibliography Source 2 revision group draft? Okay, you just have to have that done before we meet on Wednesday. Tonight, remember your stories that you guys wrote for the punctuation? Okay, you got to write a cute little story for me. So by midnight tonight, I want you to go onto the punctuation discussion board. You're going to click on one of your classmates' stories and you're going to add 1 sentence to it. Okay, so if I wrote a story about a werewolf who lived in my tree house, don't even ask me where that came from. Werewolf that lived in my tree house. Hunter's going to come in and he's going to read my story and he'll just add a sentence somewhere. Okay, doesn't matter where, but the idea is to add 1 sentence, but to use correct punctuation in that 1 sentence. Try to challenge yourselves. Don't just use a period at the end. That's boring. Try to be creative, use punctuation, and just add 1 sentence. So you're going to go to 2 classmates' posts and add 1 sentence to their post. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? So 2 classmates, 1 sentence. So I would add 1 sentence to Hunter's story and then 1 sentence to Stephanie's story. Okay? Does that make sense? Let me know if you guys have questions on that. Okay, cool. So that's due by midnight tonight. Okay. I was going to give you some more information on something, but I'm afraid it would be a little bit overwhelming and kind of an information dump. So I think I might save this information. Give me just a moment to write myself a note, okay? Okay. I'm checking my notes, otherwise I'm going to forget what I want to tell you guys. Okay, so I'm going to go to the to-do lists. Oops. Wrong day. All right. That's what I was forgetting. I knew I was forgetting something. Okay. So by tonight, you guys need to respond to 2 of your classmates. Go ahead and add that super creative sentence. It still needs to be correct, but creative sentence to your classmates' posts. We need that final draft of your annotation number 1. Okay. Then for class on Wednesday, I need you to get started, and I'm going to correct that. That bothers me that it says source 1. I need you to get started. I need you to read those last 2 sources. Okay. And remember, start on page 3 of In an Absolute State. It's going to be a rough one. So I want you to make sure that you set aside some time where you can totally focus on that document. So I mean, like if you're like me, if you have kids and you have pets and whatever, try to make sure that you can get just a little chunk of time to yourself to go through those sources. Okay. And then we will be using those for part of our discussion and activities on Wednesday. So please make sure you go through them. And then you need to get started. on your second annotation. So remember, you're choosing between how we talk about the coronavirus and we call workers essential. So choose one of those for your second annotation. Okay. And then make sure that you post your second annotation draft on the revision group discussion board. Any questions? That was a lot of information and some work for you to do. So do you guys have any questions on what needs to be done tonight? Or any questions on what you need to do for when we meet on Wednesday? Okay. Anybody have any questions where to find anything? Remember, when all else fails, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love our learning plans because our learning plans have all of this great information organized for us, okay? So if I needed to go find something with grammar and punctuation, I'd go to Learning Plan 1. If I needed to go refresh my memory on some writing process, which we're going to talk about next week, I would go there. If I needed to go, research and documentation, all the information's there. However, when all else fails, please remember these tabs under the class materials in Blackboard, okay? I can find all my assignments here, all my discussion boards here, all my journal entries here, so on, so forth, okay? So when all else fails, just remember that you can rely to the tabs on the left. All right, so what I'm going to do, you guys, is I want to give you some time to work. You've got, what do we got? Like 35 minutes, 20, something like that. Okay. Want to give you this time to work, but I'm going to stay here in the classroom. So if you are trying to finish up your annotated bibliography and you have questions, I'm here and I can help you, okay? Same if you try to go to the discussion board and do the punctuation post and you're still kind of confused what it is I'm asking you to do there. I'll be here so you can ask me questions. Or if you want to get started on your second annotation, same. I'm here. Ask me questions, okay? So, does anybody have any questions? Okay, then this is what I want you guys to do. I want you to get to work. You have plenty of work to do. Get your work done. If you get a chance, go to your grade book, look for feedback on other things. Remember to go back to the annotation for the source one. We had that revision group discussion board. Please remember to go back there and look at the feedback from me and look at the feedback from your peers and apply that to really, really edit and polish up the final draft of your annotation bibliography for source one, okay? So other than that, I want you guys to get to work. Here if you need me, but get to work. Make sure you're prepped and ready to go with everything for when we meet on Wednesday, okay? So yeah, get to work. You're free to sign out and work if you want to, but otherwise you can stay here in case you have questions. Totally up to you. Okay? Bye.